All right, Fashion Dolls, and we are back with our second interview for today. Now, our next special guest is a writer, director, and SAG actor, and he is a Midwest native. He was born in Ohio. I'm super excited to have him here in the Dollhouse, Fashion Dolls. Joining me now, we have Jason Toler. So, without further ado, let's welcome him to the Dollhouse. And you guys can check out my first interview with Kennedy Samario, which is up right now. So this week it is all about the fellas. We are kicking off What a Man Week with our second guest for today, Fashion Dolls. So without further ado, let's welcome our incredibly handsome, talented special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for him, Jason Toler. Okay, something is going on because I can't see Jason, ladies and gentlemen. Do I need to start a new live? Can you guys see him? Because I can't see him. I think something is going on. So what I'm going to do,
Yo.
wait
Oh,
a second.
how's that?
Great.
Is that better?
Hello.
Hey, how's it
Hello.
going?
Welcome to the Dollhouse. How are
Hi.
you? It is
I'm
such
great. Thank you for
a
having me.
pleasure to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the one and only Mr. Jason Toler. So before we kick off this interview, how has 2023 been for you thus far?
So far, so good. We wrapped on one of my other films. We are actually going to be starting my next film tomorrow. So we are in pre-production right now in Los Angeles. I flew back in LA about 5 days ago, and it's been nothing but go
Okay,
ever since then.
okay. So let's kick off this interview. Now, you were born in Ohio, right? Or Cleveland?
Yes, yes. Originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. My parents relocated to Cleveland when I was about 9 or 10, and I was raised in Cleveland, and then I went back to Cincinnati when I was in my high school age, and ended up graduating from Woodward High School in Cincinnati. So from there, ended up graduating, going to Columbia College Chicago, where I studied film, and then from there to New York. Was not really a big fan of New York too much, but ended up leaving New York and come to LA, where I ended up getting back involved in more
And when I
filmmaking.
think of Cleveland, Ohio, I think of one person that comes to mind. And we already know who that is, Holly Berry. Holly Berry, Cleveland, Ohio. Holly Berry.
Yeah,
So where did the
yeah.
passion for acting and writing and directing come from? And what age did you say, okay, this is something that I want to do?
For me, like a lot of African Americans growing up in the '90s, I grew up in a predominantly middle class black community that unfortunately was being ravaged by the crack cocaine epidemic. So it wasn't really as safe for a lot of kids and teenagers to be out in the streets. So I spent a lot of my time in movie theaters. I was one of those kids that there weren't a lot of summer programs. So I really wasn't involved in sports. I always loved films and storytelling. Had a very supportive family in that, and I just had a love for movies. Never thought I could be involved in filmmaking. You know, it always seemed as if there were people who were involved in making movies that were,
Right.
lived in Hollywood or had rich families or come from a a, a lineage of filmmakers. The Baldwins or the I mean, list goes on and on, right? So, for me, it was, very fortunate. My father was basically like, if something you want to do in life, you can do it. You just have to figure it out. Got to research it, right? So I was very fortunate enough to do a lot of research prior to getting involved in the film industry, and that was kind of my journey. Learning. I mean, the very first book I got on filmmaking, I think I got when I was like 12, which was feature filmmaking for
Wow.
used car prices. I'll never forget the name of that book, and that kind of sparked my passion.
Okay. And fast forward, you've done some work on such films as Save the Last Dance, you've done Spider-Man 2, you've done
Yeah,
Barbershop. Now
yeah,
these are cult classic films. Now Barbershop, Ice, you had Ice Cube, you had E, you had Cedric the Entertainer. So what was it like on
yeah.
set with them?
It was an amazing experience. George Tillman Jr., who's
Yeah.
actually a graduate of Columbia College and has been a great mentor of mine, at the time was looking for active, robust filmmakers that wanted to work on the project. He was the executive producer of Barbershop. So through the school and through kind of my connections, when I was in film school, I was a hustler. I was already directing music videos, and kind of had my name in the streets as being that kind of go-to filmmaker guy. So I was very fortunate enough to kind of hop on that movie kind of first and kind of see kind of how things were, in my film career. But it was a great experience. Ice Cube was amazing. I had never seen Cedric the Entertainer in
Yeah.
a dramatic role. So he was funny, and there were a lot of amazing experiences that I had working on that film, and they were great. They were I couldn't tell you the Hollywood kind of bad story situations because at the time everybody was great and everybody was very supportive, especially as a film student.
And you
So
mentioned George Tillman. A lot of people don't know this about you, Jason, but you were mentored by the late John Singleton. And we all know his show Snowfall.
absolutely,
So God bless his soul. He was just such a genius with writing and directing. He's done
doing an amazing. I actually met. I'm a huge comic book fan, and ironically, out of all my time in Hollywood, I met John at a comic book store. We were like the only two black guys in the comic book store, right? And we met and we struck up a conversation. And I told him what I was working on, something he was working on, and that became almost an 8-year friendship, 8-9-year friendship. I mean, he took me on my first boat. I rode his boat for the first time. He was just a great guy, and every project that I was working on, he was always very supportive of giving me feedback and kind of help me navigate kind of way in Hollywood. And we had just started to he had just started to kind of position towards Snowfall. So I was really excited about that. He was telling me about, I want to bring you on board for this, and there might be some things for you. Like, it's gonna be cool. It was kind of started off as this guy's story, but we're moving into this guy's story and kind of doing some things. So, it was a great experience to be able to see what he was doing. I mean, if you're a filmmaker, especially African American filmmaker, John Singleton is on your Rushmore, the Mount Rushmore of black filmmakers, in my opinion. And he was just a great guy. It was just a tremendous loss, when he passed away. And my experience with him was always very supportive, very humble. As crazy as my ideas were sometimes, he was always like, okay, well, just figure it out, and when you're ready, bring it to me. When you're ready, bring it to me. So, it was unfortunate that he passed, but yeah, John was great. He's a great
What
guy.
is
He's
some
great to me.
advice that he's given you before, he passed on?
Research. If there's something you're interested about, do as much research as possible before you jump into writing about a subject. Surround yourself with good, supportive people. Filmmaking is one of the last arts where you have to have a collection of people. It's creative. It's not like music where you can kind of make music on your own. It's not like painting, or you can kind of do it on your own. Filmmaking is a collaborative effort, so you have to have one, good supportive people in your corner, and two, a strong team. You may think you can do it all, but you can't. So the quicker you can figure that out and put a team together to do that, the more successful you'll be as a filmmaker. I mean, those are two things that, and he dropped a lot of gems. But I mean, those are things specifically that, resonate when I think about what he showed me or even what Georgia showed me. And it just, it's consistently their voice in my head talking to me about that.
Now, you've done quite a few feature films. One of them,
Yeah.
Sundance Film Festival, and that is Pleasure, which is
Yeah.
a powerful, powerful
Yes.
project. And it talks a lot about the dark side and the bright side of the adult entertainment business. Now, I've interviewed adult entertainers here on my platform. And I try to give everybody that is black that is doing something. I don't discriminate here on my talk show, on my platform, because everybody has to make their money, especially with inflation. If you know,
Yeah.
inflation. The
Yeah.
price of eggs and everything is just crazy.
Hey,
So, Pleasure,
hey.
tell us a little bit about your role in Pleasure, because you play like the manager to the main character, the young woman who is the main focus of the film.
Yeah, I've worked on plenty of films, and Pleasure definitely got a lot of
Yes,
critical acclaim. If you have not, if Pleasure not familiar with it, it's about a woman from Sweden who decides she wants to enter the adult film industry, and there really isn't, you know, you talk about American exports. The one export I never talk about is the adult film market. You know, America is the biggest producer of
yes,
globally of adult film content. With that being said, the film shows this woman's journey from Sweden coming into the States to become an adult film actress, and the highs and lows and pitfalls she goes with it. So I actually play Mike, her agent in that film. You know, like a lot of actors, there are a lot of opportunities out there, and you know, I'm also a writer. I'm in the Writers Guild, and I had actually met the director of that film in Cannes. My company was, you know, doing some projects a couple years back. She had a short that was in Cannes first that kind of narrowly spoke about, you know, somebody's journey in the industry to be going to expand into a feature. So when she was coming to Los Angeles, you know, it's kind of a collection of us that are in LA, you know, that still communicate with other directors from overseas. And, you know, she was talking about the project and we kind of crossed paths again. It's like, oh, this is interesting. And, you know, I had helped some people in the adult industry. I worked around, you know, in Hollywood. So I kind of knew kind of how things were and kind of saw the skeleton of her script and gave her some script notes and some suggestions. And then it kind of started off as me kind of giving some advice as a writing consultant. And then there was two roles in the film. She's like, I'm really looking to have a person of color play one of these roles. You know, I don't think I was too comfortable with the other character in the film as an actor at that time. But she was definitely open to me reading for one of the other roles, and I booked that role, and it was a great experience. You know, I flew to Sweden. I was in Sweden for I think almost 2 weeks shooting over there, and the rest of it we shot in Los Angeles, and it was great. You know, it was a great experience. Unfortunately, like so many situations, we kind of got bogged down via
yes,
COVID, so we weren't really able to have that full film festival experience of going to like Cannes and Sundance and all the awards and kind of being able to give it that proper push I think the film really deserved and the actors deserved. You know, a lot of people that were in that film were from the adult industry, so it was good to be able to see them position themselves as caricatures of people in that industry from a feature film perspective.
absolutely. And your second feature film, which is COD, was screened in several film festivals, and it won Best Midnight Screening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we just recently had Sundance.
Yeah.
Shout out to my girl Danielle Ward. She
Mm-hmm.
came back from Sundance. She took some photos and everything. Now, this one right here, how does it feel
That's
to
great.
be in a project that is won for midnight screening?
It's great. My production company, Sunrays Films, we primarily do action and horror films. We have a co-production deal with a company called Cinema Epic, who's really known in that genre. They're mostly known for doing Samurai Cop series 1 and 2. So we've been producing films mostly for like Amazon and Tubi and Hulu for like the last 6 years, almost 6, 7 years. So Crack House of the Dead, which is kind of my homage to all the grindhouse films that I grew up watching when I was a kid. You know, I was one of those guys that would go down to the Blockbuster Video and just literally go through the horror section and watch all the stuff, good or bad. So I wanted to do kind of a traditional, you know, urban zombie film. I'd never seen that before, you know. And some of my favorite films are things like, you know, Night of the Living Dead or Return of the Living Dead or Night of the Demons. So, you know, I wanted it to be diverse. I wanted it to have, you know, female characters, black characters, LGBTQ characters, and put them in that traditional trope of, you know, we always see, you know, these collections, even shows like The Walking Dead, this collection of misfits that usually wouldn't know each
Yes,
other, you know, trying to survive the apocalypse or trying to survive the zombie situation. So what if those misfits were a little bit more stereotypical? What if you had the dirty cop, the prostitute, the pimp, the drug dealer? What if those people were stuck in this house and had to work together to fend off, you know, the first night of the zombie apocalypse? So, you know, it started off as a kind of a knock knock joke in the beginning, but myself and my friends like, hey, crack house of the dead, crack house of the dead, crack house of the dead, right? and then we ended up making it. So the movie did a nice theatrical run. Again, much like a lot of films during COVID, we kind of got to a pushback. But the film got picked up by an amazing company called Horror Hub TV. So they are launching their network this year, and that is one of their 5 original films. So people will be able to watch it for free. The network's in beta right now, so if you've got Roku or was it Fire Stick, Amazon Prime, you should be able to download the Horror Hub TV app, and they have a plethora of like kind of horror films and grindhouse films and classics that people can watch. I think they're doing like an actual launch of the network in like February, but that film, Crack House of the Dead, I think is going to be out in October of
Okay.
this year.
So yeah, you and my mom will get along perfectly. Because she loves that. She loves the horror
Yeah,
film genre. Like she was just watching Dracula not too long
perfect,
ago.
perfect.
So yeah.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I'm a huge horror fan at heart. So, a lot of my films are kind of, if I'm writing and directing them and producing them in that genre, in that realm of the old kind of grindhouse horror stuff that I kind of grew up on, that tugs at my
Now
heartstrings.
you're big on action as well too. So when it comes to doing your stunts, so
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about it. Do you have any input on when you're doing your stunts in your project?
Yeah, I on a action side of things, I've taken several martial arts since I was a kid, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu, things of that nature. Uh, there's a desperate need for black action heroes in the action genre. Um, when there's some networks that are like, the Tubies and the Amazons, they don't really have anything middle ground to kind of service that
Yeah.
market. It's like Denzel Washington, Jamie Foxx, Michael Jai White, me. Like, that's really all there is for the most part. So we ran the numbers. We did this amazing action film called Kill Plan. That's actually streaming right now on Tubi. You can watch that for free. I was able to cast that, and it was a great special effects team that did some great fight choreography. They're gearing up to do another action film. I don't know if can I talk about this yet? Okay, so my publicist is on the side saying, okay. So we're gearing up to do a superhero movie, actually in March, the way it's looking. So there'll be more information about that. So I like the action genre. I'm still in pretty good shape, still a pretty good fighter. So, hopefully people enjoy it as
Now,
much as I enjoy making it.
aside from action, you've also done some comedy as well too. You have a comedy album, and I was listening to some of your
I do.
while I was in the chair on one episode, getting my makeup and hair done before the show came on. I was listening to your
Okay.
comedy album, Highly Inappropriate, and then it was one where you talked about
Mhm.
kids on the playground, and then going to school. And then the other one, you talked about the woman on the bus and how you didn't want to fight or something like that. So
Yeah, you got me. Yeah, so if you're up for some good times and a good laugh, my comedy album Highly Inappropriate is streaming on Spotify. It's also on YouTube as well. Yeah, I started off doing some writing for a couple comedians back in the days, just doing some punch up stuff for them. Had some great comedic friends like Adam Hunter and Jay Davis, and those guys are kind of mentored me. We actually were producing shows for a while, so as a writer, you have to be able to kind of touch your fingers on all different types of genres. So stand up for a while, just kind of flex that stand up muscle. And I'll probably do some more comedy stuff too. I actually enjoy comedy. We're focusing now on the horror stuff and the action stuff, but there'll be some more comedy stuff in my repertoire before the end of the year. I
yes,
promise you
because
guys
that's
that.
what I was about to ask you. Um, will there be some more comedy coming up? Because we know you for action, we know you for thriller, horror, this category. But are we going to see some more comedy in the future?
Yeah, like I'm very fortunate where I don't really want to get pigeonholed when it comes to my career. You know, if you Google my stuff, I'm playing a cop or I'm playing an FBI agent. You know, uh, Kill Plan is more CIA action stuff. The Wrong Series is more of a Lifetime movie ish type drama. You know, there weren't a lot of interracial um,
Yeah.
lifetime love stories, so to speak. So we were kind of servicing that market. Um, and then there's probably going to be another two or three of the action films are going to kind of be in the urban black genre range, and so is the superhero movies. So I like having a diverse plethora of my skills as an
And not
actor in
only
this
that,
movie.
but you're also in the remake of the cult classic House Party as well, too.
Yeah, yeah, very fortunate. I'm a little sad that they cut out a lot of our parts, but I was very fortunate to be a part of that. It's tricky when it comes to remakes because everybody knows, especially that property. There's not a black person in America that's under 45, 55 that doesn't know House Party. So you have to have a little bit of leeway and understand that they're going into a different direction for a new generation and to bring in new people's ideas and thought process. But it was a fun movie. We shot that in Los Angeles. Um, Met a lot of really cool, interesting people. A lot of connections on that film. Was able to work on a small scale with a lot of upcoming actors and also see a lot of veteran actors work. It was great to see Maya on set and even Juvenile and all these the amazing cameo people. But in their downtime, some of them I was able to talk to and get an idea of kind of what they're working on, what their experiences are. So House Party was a great experience for me. I always say to actors, you know, don't shy away from any opportunity where you can be on set.
Absolutely.
PA, extra, friend of a friend, somebody invites you over to come, bless the set for a day. Go. You'd be surprised at who you can meet, what experiences you could have. It's especially in situations like that where it leads to a lot. There's at least three of the actors I've met on House Party that have recommended me to their other producers for other projects. I've brought them on. One of the young ladies that I'm actually working at House Party with is in the Frankenstein film that we're shooting. So really felt really excited about making those
And the
contacts and those connections.
reason why I did my face like that is because you're saying everything basically that I've been saying, which is you never know where your blessing lies if you
Yeah,
don't jump and take that
never
opportunity.
know.
A lot of people want the main or next
Yeah,
to the lead, but you got to start somewhere. You have to start in the background to start
start
somewhere.
somewhere
So LeBron James
and
is also in this
even while
project as
you running the
well.
race.
I said LeBron
Say
James
again?
is also in the new House Party project as well too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I met him. We had a great conversation. The whole Cleveland connection thing. To see him on set, interacting as a producer and things, it was great. It was a great experience. And shout out to Calmatic. Calmatic did an amazing job as a director on that. It's I can only imagine how intimidating it could be to take on that property in this day and time, with the new generation, trying to bring in new ideas. So and a young black
Mhm.
director too. The brother is known for a lot of music videos. That was his first feature, to my knowledge. So, he's on Facebook, and Instagram. Go ahead and follow him as well. Um, Again, I'm looking forward to seeing more good things from him and possibly
One
working for him with him in
thing
the
I
future.
love about you, and if you've watched some of my previous interviews and shows, I'm always talking about supporting Black film directors, Black filmmakers, because this year,
Absolutely.
if you guys know, you know, I've talked not too long ago about it with the Oscar nominees. I wasn't too pleased with that, and I will say that there wasn't enough for predominantly women of color writers on the field. There wasn't enough writers of color.
I
There was a lot of
mean that.
snubs, and Viola Davis got snubbed. So many
Yeah.
actors of color got snubbed.
Oh,
But congrats to
absolutely.
Angela Bassett. She got nominated, which was
Yeah.
long overdue, and I feel like
Yeah.
she deserved an award for What's Love Got to Do with It. She wore Tina Turner
Yeah.
out, and I feel like she should have
Yeah.
gotten an Oscar for that. So she's nominated. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I am rooting for. I mean, again, no disrespect to any other directors of other nationalities and things. I would have thought when I was watching movies when I was a kid, there would be several successful black production companies and distribution companies and actors, and we would be seen more in award shows. But we still seem to see the same handful of people with a sprinkle of new faces here and there. So, and I know how difficult it is to write, to act, to direct, to produce. So there are projects like Woman King that were amazing. I thought was definitely snubbed, and I want this to be motivation for other actors and producers and writers like myself to not worry so much about Hollywood and what they're doing, and go create your own projects, but do them to the best of your ability. There's numerous streaming services that are looking for content that will pay you. There's numerous streaming services that you can, partner up with to create your stuff. Tubi's doing some amazing stuff with black filmmakers. I mean, they don't want to admit it, but there's a large number of people that are watching those movies and supporting those films. And shout out to those filmmakers. They're doing it. They're getting it done. So, it's going to come a time and come full circle where we're going to have to start giving each other more support, but also, give each other our flowers. You see, I mean, most of these filmmakers nowadays, they're on social media. Even myself, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. Reach out to them. Ask them what they're working on. Go watch their projects. Talk, hey, you did a good job on this, or hey, you could have been better at this, or I really enjoyed whatever it is. We collectively need to start doing that and, bring attention to our projects and let those dollars circulate.
Shout outs to Marcus Head, who is the host of the Good Head podcast. He says Tubi is amazing and paid. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And there's All Black Network, there's a plethora. You guys can find them. Where if you're putting together good projects, you can definitely get it out to the masses and have a fruitful career. Those projects may not ever get nominated for Emmys or or Golden Globes or whatever, but we know the value in those filmmakers. We need to shout them and push them up. Again, there's these, even on Black Twitter, there's a whole thread about, or Facebook, the Tubi movies, that kind of stereotypical kind of lower budget, but those filmmakers are busting their ass to make those projects. That's a labor of love for somebody who may not have. I'm very fortunate. I went to film school. I was able to get internships and meet other filmmakers, make connections, and I'm directing my, I don't know, 7th feature film right now, but not everybody has and I'm at this level. I'm at baseline in Los Angeles. I'm not anywhere near, where I think I would like to be or could be. When there are filmmakers that are trying to get to that level as well. So we got to be supportive.
Look at there. Someone wants to connect with you. Marcus says, I have 3 projects, just need connects to get in, and I definitely will reach out.
There we go. Absolutely. Please follow me on Instagram as well.
Fashion Dolls. I can't keep Jason because I know he is very, very busy. So we are going to get into our games, and then we're going to ask some questions from the audience. All right, Fashion Dolls? So the first one is called the Rapid Five. And Jason has to tell us 5 things that he can't live without. And then the next one is going to be called Turn the Tables. So this is where my guests get to ask me questions. And for the new viewers out there, it's sort of like I'm becoming Janet Jackson. I'm cutting the velvet rope, and I'm letting everybody in to get to know who Miss Stevie is, all right? So we're going to start off with the Rapid Five. Now, for the Rapid Five, it can be your favorite food. It can be your favorite drink, your favorite fashion designer. Well, the Super Bowl is coming up next month, so your favorite football team, whatever. So let's get right into it. What are 5 things that Jason can't live without?
Can't live without sleep. That's the one thing I definitely need more of and can't live without. It's coming up. I need to go to the gym. Okay. That's working out is something I cannot live without. My cell phones. I have like 4 cell phones, and I'm always in communication on projects. So without my cell phones, I would be lost. Comic books. I'm a huge comic book fan, so I need to read something at least once a week just to kind of clear my mind, get away from everything. And right now, Red Bull. I'm in Los Angeles, I'm in Las Vegas, I'm in Miami, so I'm not a coffee drinker, but Red Bull is definitely becoming my go-to, and I hate to admit that, and my trainer would probably kill me for saying that. And horror films. I think that's my top 5. I need to have some type of horror stimulation to kind of motivate me. Even the bad ones I find as some type of motivation or encouragement on to the next project.
And just to keep that creativity and those juices flowing and going, inspo. All right, Fashion Dolls. So that is the Rapid Five. It is time to turn those tables, and my heart is beating very, very fast. I do not know what Jason is going to ask me. My guests get to ask as many questions as they want, as we did with our previous guest, Kennedy. All right. So I'm going to pass it on down to Jason.
I would say if you weren't doing this, what would you be
I
doing?
would be a fashion designer. I know in the first one I said hairstylist, but I would be a fashion designer because I love just the aspect, even for myself, when I dress or put on a nice outfit, a nice dress, a nice gown, just coming on and hosting this platform. And people are like, oh my God, what she's wearing today. They always tune in to see what I'm wearing or something. So I love fashion. I love
Okay.
to experiment. And just even in nature, the most beautiful inanimate things, I always find some sort of inspiration from something. It can be a flower. So I would say if I wasn't hosting this platform, I would be designing fashion. Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of fashionistas love going to events. You know, like there's the Oscars and the Emmys and the Met Gala. What would be your dream gala
The
to attend?
Met Gala. I get to just be it's wild.
The Met Gala.
And one thing I live my life on, and I put a quote up earlier this morning. Um, when I did my reel with all of my looks, I did like a lookbook for my looks for this season because we kicked off season 17 this month, this year, January 2nd. So I would have to say I live my life off of drama and attitude and sass and just over the top glamour. So if you know me, you know it would be the Met Gala. And I wouldn't go alone. I would bring other black stylists, other black fashion. I would bring the whole team of them with me.
Is there a specific outfit that you remember or stands out on somebody that you think is iconic?
Oh my goodness, it's so many. It's so many. Oh my God. I would say the most iconic for me, if you guys know me, you know that I'm all about celebrating powerful women. And I would have to say, if you guys go back into, let's say, 1990, Madonna's Express Yourself, the power suit. The power suit that she wore, the pinstripe power
Wow.
suit, it just stood out. It was femininity, it was powerful, it was everything. And she had the platinum blonde hair. So that would be my most iconic outfit. I was thinking of one from Beyonce because Beyonce's had so many. I could say Coachella, I could say
Oh yeah.
everything, but that one right there, I went all the way back to 1990. Madonna. Yeah.
Okay. And let's see, if you were able to go to any place to wear a specific outfit, where would you
Where
go?
would I go? Oh my God. Now, knowing me, I would be the best friend that's going to show up if it's like a family gathering or something or brunch. I would
Okay.
be the one that's going
Okay.
to show up and really show out. Be and you're just like, oh my gosh, she's way over the top. Like, did she not just wear a tulle skirt to brunch? Like she's Sarah Jessica Parker. So I would be like the Carrie Bradshaw of the group. I'm always gonna do it. I'm always gonna do it over. My mom just said, just put on a t-shirt. I said, no, baby, no, ma'am, I can't just do a t-shirt.
That's great. Well, yeah, I think that's all I can think about at the moment. Yeah. I try to be a fashionable person as best I can. So I'll definitely be tapping into you when I have events or something going on. Say, hey, what do you think about this? Is this good? Does this work?
And you are, you're dapper, you're very handsome, and you're always suited up in your films and your projects. So that was another question that I was going to ask you.
Oh,
How would you describe your style? You asked me a lot about fashion because everybody knows that that is something that I love. I eat, sleep, and breathe fashion. So for you, what are 5 ways you would describe your style?
uh, probably a classic black man, masculinity, I think. You know, my father kind of raised me to be one of those guys that's very
Yeah.
understanding of how people perceive you. I went to schools where you had to wear shirt and ties all the time. So it just became my general, everyday dress. And I'm very well, especially I'm very aware, especially as a black man's America, as how people perceive you, how they see you. And or how you get changed differently. I mean, I remember being a kid and watching, like the old 90210 and seeing, the white boys in the t-shirt and the jeans. That's a cool look. And then when we go and wear t-shirts and jeans, our perspective is completely different. So, I made it, for lack of a better word, a consistent thing for me to be in a shirt and tie and see how people perceive me, to be in a button up and see how people perceive me. So the reactions and the treatment is usually better in that sense. So for lack of a better word, for better for worse, fashion has become more of a suit of armor for me. Um, I'm a hardworking, loyal, trustworthy person, and how I dress presents that. Very freely. I don't really own a lot of hoodies or sweatshirts. I don't really own a lot of clothes that kind of look like the norm of how society sees men of color, unfortunately. So, and it becomes a natural comfort for me. Like I have no problem throwing on a blazer and an undershirt and or a shirt and tie and going to the movies just by myself. So that's kind of my intake of fashion. Unless I'm going to an award show or something. I try to do it a little bit better than I usually would on a Tuesday or Wednesday. If you Google me on the red carpets for different events, you'll be able to see. Oh yeah, it's a nice specific suit that I've got a great stylist, Jasmine King in Los Angeles, who's been very very supportive of me and has got me ready for numerous events. So shout out to Jasmine. And that's kind of my approach. That's kind of my
Okay,
approach.
okay. So very simple, very laid back. Me, for women, for us, it's a little bit different. It's like we're expected to turn up the ante, and for me, I try to deliver it
Oh,
effortlessly every single episode. It's a lot that goes into it. So I give thanks to my team behind me. My makeup artist Melanie makes sure that I'm right each and every day. They're like, "Oh my God, a lash is hanging off." So when I try to come on, I, everything has to be a
yeah.
tip
You gotta stay
top,
here.
perfect, perfection. So
Yeah,
yes, I put
that's great.
pride in my look and I put pride in fashion. Fashion to me is just about coming into the room, confidence, owning it, and more importantly, just being yourself, being your authentic self. You don't have to go big and bold
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
myself, but just do what works for you.
Absolutely. I'm a strong
Yes.
believer of that as well.
All right, fashion dolls, do we have any questions for Jason before we wrap up this incredible conversation? This has been an amazing day. I'm such a lucky woman. I've got to chat with two amazing actors.
Oh,
One from Port
thank you.
Harcourt, Nigeria. Oh my goodness, Kennedy Samario. And we have Jason Toler here, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only himself. So if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to let Jason take it away. Now, what advice would you give? My last question before we wrap up is what advice would you give to an up and coming filmmaker or director or writer that is a young man or woman that is watching this interview and saying, okay, if he can produce his projects, you've got your film company, Sunray Films. Awesome.
Yep,
Yes.
sorry.
So,
Yep.
what advice would you give to up and coming writers and directors that are of color?
I would I would give the advice of first of all, believe in yourself. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how difficult it seems, no matter how crazy your idea seems, do not give up on yourself. You can find people who will be supportive. You will find financing. You will find ways to get it done. It is out there. Do not give up. Uh, Two, do your research, and writing is rewriting. Um, I'm literally shooting a feature film, and we're still making changes to make it better. I start shooting tomorrow, and we're making casting changes and location changes. You don't want to be in those positions, but sometimes as an independent filmmaker, you got to make those things happen. So, you know, try not to get overwhelmed. Try to think that you don't, have an imposter syndrome. You can't get it done. You can. There's support out there. Try to surround yourself with good, supportive people, and do not give up until your project is done and out there.
Absolutely. Marcus said he sent you his information in your DM as well. Proud to have strong-minded people driven
Great.
like you both. Okay, fashion dolls. So without further ado, Jason, let everyone know where they can follow you at and check out your projects.
Absolutely. You guys can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Jason Made Films. We are currently in production on my next horror film, which is called Beverly Hills Massacre. I'm very excited about that. That should be out hopefully in March. Crack House of the Dead will be on streaming services in October. Definitely make sure you download the Horror Hub TV app, where it will be available for free. You can also see some of my films on YouTube for free under V Horror Channel. They're doing amazing stuff, so go to V Horror Channel as well. And you can always just send me a DM here. I'm easy to find. My company is Sunrays Films, Sunrays with a Z, RAYZ Films, Sunrays Films with a Z. And you guys can find me. I'm easy to get to. If I'm not in production, I'm writing. If I'm not writing, I'm doing research. I may be off the next couple of weeks because we're literally gearing up for my next film. But I answer my DMs. I respond to people when I can, and I hire people too. So if you're an actor, production person, 90% of our stuff is in Los Angeles, so you would have to be Los Angeles based. But we are venturing out to do some more things in Ohio and Atlanta and some other places as
All
well.
right,
So
fashion dolls. I'm going to leave you guys with the final thought of the day, which is from Lucille Ball, which says, I'd rather regret the things I've done than regret the things I haven't done. So that means if you don't take an opportunity while it's sitting there, even Janet Jackson said this, you can't just sit there and wait for opportunities to come to you. You get up and you take them and you
no,
make
you
them happen. And this is around the time she did Control. So make sure you guys are following Jason, and make sure you guys go and check out his comedy album as well. It's Highly Inappropriate, which is very, very funny. And those stories that we talked about throughout this
thank
interview, you will see on that album. Make sure you guys are supporting his
I mean,
projects,
yeah.
his company, Sunrays Films. Shout outs to Marcus Head, who is the creator of the Good Head podcast. He has some amazing guests on there as well, too. Coco Brown was on there, so make sure you guys go and check out that episode as well. And no show tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, but we will be kicking off What a Man Week with some more amazing black men. This week it is about the fellas. Last week you got so many girl talks throughout the week, and I know the men were just like, women, women, women. Well, hey, these are things that we go through, fellas, so I'm sorry. Hey, all right?
We love you.
So we are going to be back sometime Thursday and Friday, and we will see you then, Fashion Dolls. I love you all, and make sure you stay styled by Stevie. Fabulous, glamorous, all of that, and so much more. I love you, and thank you, Jason, for giving us so much of your time. Take care.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.